And as they did eat, he said, truly I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, he that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? The Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? And he said to him, you said it. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink you all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will drink henceforth of the fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then said Jesus unto them, all you shall be offended because of me this night. As it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after that I have risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. Peter answered and said to him, though all men should be offended, yet I never will. Jesus said to him, truly I say unto you, that this night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me thrice. Peter said to him, though I should die with you, yet I will not deny you. Likewise said also the disciples. Then came Judas with them. Then came Jesus with them to the place called Gethsemane, and said to his disciples, you sit here while I go and pray over there. And he took with them Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then he said unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Wait ye here, and watch with me. And he went a little further, and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And he came unto the disciples, and found them asleep, and said to Peter, what? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that you do not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the second time, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, your will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. And then he came to his disciples and said to them, sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me. And while he yet spoke, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him great crowds with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, "Whoever I shall kiss, the same is he. Hold him secure." And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, "Hail, Master," and kissed him. And Jesus said to him, "Friend, wherefore art thou come?" Then they came and laid their hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them, which were with Jesus, stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Then said Jesus unto them, "Put away your sword into its place, for all those that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Do you not think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how shall the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be this way?" In that same hour said Jesus to the crowds, "Have you come out as against a thief with swords and clubs to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you laid no hold on me. But all this was done, that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. Then they laid hold on Jesus and led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. And Peter followed him afar off unto the high priest's palace, and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death. And they found none. Yes, many false witnesses came, yet they did not find one. At last came 2 false witnesses and said, "This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and build it in 3 days." And the high priest arose and said to them, "Do you answer nothing? What it is these testify against you?" But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said to him, "I adjure you by the living God, that you tell us whether you are the Christ, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "You have said. Nevertheless, I say unto you, after this you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothing, saying, "He's spoken blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses? Behold, you've heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" And they answered and said, "He is guilty of death." Then they did spit in his face and buffeted him, and others struck him with the palms of their hands, saying, "Prophesy unto us, thou Christ. Who is he that struck you?" Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a little girl came to him, saying, "You also were with Jesus of Galilee." But he denied before them all, saying, "I know not what you're saying." And when he had gone out into the porch, another little girl saw him and said to them that were there, "This fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth." And again he denied with an oath, "I do not know the man." And after a while came unto him they that stood by, and said to Peter, "Surely you are one of them, for your speech betrays you." They began he to curse and to swear, saying, "I know not the man." And immediately the rooster crowed. And Peter remembered the word of Jesus, which he said to him, "Before the rooster crows, you shall deny me thrice." And he went out and wept bitterly. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, turned himself back and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned, and that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? You see to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver into the temple, and departed, and went and hung himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, it's not lawful for us to put them into the treasury, for it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field is called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, and they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field as the Lord had appointed. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said to him, thou sayest. And when he had accused of the chief priests and the elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, do you not hear? Do you not hear how many things they testify against you? But he answered him never a word, insomuch that the governor was greatly amazed. Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release to the people a prisoner whom they would. And when they had a notable prisoner called Barabbas, therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that because of envy they had given him over. When they had sat down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, have nothing to do with that just man. For I've suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. And the governor answered and said to them, which of the two will ye that I release unto you? And they said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, what shall I do with Jesus, which is called Christ? And they all said unto him, let him be crucified. And the governor said, why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. And Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but rather that a riot was made. He took water and washed his hands before the crowds, saying, I'm innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it. Then answered all the people, his blood be upon us and upon our children. Then they released Barabbas unto him. And when he had beaten Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus to the common hall. How you doing? You right? Took Jesus to the common hall. Lost my place. And gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. And they spit upon him, and took the reed, and struck him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off him, and put his own clothing on him, and led him away to crucify him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name, and they compelled him to carry his cross. And when they had come unto the place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall. And when he had tasted of it, he would not drink. And they crucified him, and divided his clothing, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And sitting down, they guarded him there, and set over his head his accusation written, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then there were two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and the other on the left. And those that passed by mocked him, wagging their heads, saying, "You that destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from that cross." Likewise, also the chief priests, mocking him with the scribes and elders, said, "He saved others. Himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him come down now from that cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God. Let him save him, if he will have him, because he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Now the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," which is to say, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Some of them that stood by when they had heard it said, "This man calls for Elijah." And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, "Let be, let us see whether Elijah will come to save him." Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, gave up the spirit. And behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose.